Hello everyone, I'm going to show you how to graph a piecewise function on a calculator. So I'm working under the assumption you've seen a piecewise function before with that kind of weird looking equation. Even though it's drawn in two colors, this really is a single function. That's why I wrote it in purple, because red and blue make purple, clearly. So this is just a single function. Notice that for x equals 1, you're on the blue still. Technically speaking, on the red, you have an open circle right here, and it's a closed circle for the blue. But we don't usually even bother to draw it like that. We just leave it as just no circle there to show that it comes together. So to draw this on our calculator, it looks really horrible if we have it shown the way it is here. So I want to show you how to only draw the parts you want. So what we're going to use is this thing called a Boolean variable. It's named after a guy named George Boole who lived sometime. I'm sure other people in other places came up with it too, but he's the guy who gets credit for it. Boolean variables get used a ton in programming. So the way this works is you put your equation into your y equals like you normally would. And then here's a cool trick actually. Second right arrow takes me all the way to the end, so I don't have to keep arrowing across. Handy calculator trick there. And so basically a Boolean variable acts like a light switch. It's a yes or no. So here's how it works. We hit divide and then a parenthesis, that's important. And then I want my x less than or equal to 1. So I do my x. The less than or equal to is in the test menu, which is second math. And you can see you have all of those there, and I want less than or equal to, so I want the 6. And I will put my 1 in. And then I'm going to go down to my y2. I'll divide parentheses x, and then again second math to get to the test menu, and then I want greater than 1. So here's how these work. So basically it's like a true false. You're going along and you're plugging points in and you're saying true or false. Is my number that I'm plugging in less than or equal to 1? So if I'm plugging in 0, for example, the answer to that is true or yes. If you get a true here inside those parentheses, it returns a value of 1. Dividing something by 1 does absolutely nothing to it. And you go, hey, great, plot that point. But then, like if I look at that second equation and I'm looking at x equals 0, and since 0 is not less than, or oh shoot, I put the wrong thing in here. That should be no, never mind. It's late in the day. So, putting a 0 in, since 0 is not more than 1, that's false. Any false thing is a 0. And if you divide by 0, you're going like, and it's not going to draw anything. So now it's going to go through like it normally does, plotting its points, and it's only going to plot things if it's a true statement. So now when I look at my graph, here's my parabola coming up, and then it stops, followed by my line which starts. So as you can see, it shows my graph perfectly, and it looks just like the way I want it to look. You might see a tiny gap there, and that's okay. One way you can get around that gap is instead of using a greater than, if you kind of cheat, and it is a cheat because you're on the blue, not the red, when x equals 1. But if I put in the or equal to's on that, when it draws the graph, it won't have a little gap there. So I usually kind of cheat it just so I can see it a little bit better. But that's how you graph a piecewise function on a calculator.